Good morning, good morning, good morning. My name is Marshawn Govan, and I am the President and CEO of MKG Enterprises Corp. Financial Services, and also CEO of MKG Financial Group Equity Fund Advisors, LLC. So today I'm going to talk about black businesses and crowdfunding. Why do black entrepreneurs struggle to raise capital? There's a number of reasons on why this happens. I'm just going to list at least about 14 different reasons on top of, some of the statistics that I like to go over. So for every $100 of wealth, or at least $100 that a white business owns, black wealth equals $5 at about 4 cents. So if we look at how much wealth is going to be compared to if they had $1,000, then black wealth will be $50. This too can be the same true if we look at a white business owner that is able to crowdfund and raise $1 million, then a black business or the black wealth will be $50,000. That is a huge wealth inequality of between black wealth and black wealth. And I know that a lot of black businesses struggle to survive, especially with the PPP being sidelined in the first round. Now that the second round is open and you're able to apply, it's all about, relationships, who you know, things like that. But I want you to really take this into consideration on, where we're at today as we go into Black History Month, and really think about capital formation. We're in the Central Valley, which is right in the middle of everything. However, most people put it as the number one agricultural company, or the agricultural city in the U.S. Bringing in about $7 billion in agriculture. That's huge. But compared to, how that's going to be distributed to the black community or the black entrepreneur, that doesn't have any effect on what a black business can do. We're still trying to hold on to our bootstraps, giving some grants, which is a pacifying us. It's not going to give us sustainability, long-term growth, or, job creation. It's like putting a Band-Aid on a wound that's still going to be bleeding. And in the end, you're going to most likely need a blood transfusion or something. That's my take on it. But, to each his own. Everyone has their own views and their own opinions about things. But I just want to go over, where we're at today in these present times. I know that we're in January, which is, the 20th, 10 more days, and, January will be gone, and we'll be, in February, which will be Black History Month. But, where we're going, where we're at, and what we're doing, I think, we have to really look at our, wealth gap, racial inequalities, and what platforms that we do have. But, I think capital formation is something that eludes a lot of black businesses, a lot of black business owners, even a lot of, of our black chambers, our community leaders, are also, people that we, look to kind of lead us in the right direction and even give us that knowledge. This is something that, we don't learn at home from our parents. They don't really teach us in school. This is something that, that we have to learn from wise men and people that, we surround ourselves around successful people. But Fresno, metropolitan area is economically disadvantaged because we lack a capital access brokers, as they are referred to as an investment banks, to provide investment banking and advisory service with a focus on mergers and acquisitions, restructuring, and private capital placements. Specifically, that is going to be focusing on black businesses, black entrepreneurs, small businesses, women-owned business, infant businesses, child businesses, things that are really going to, help uplift, the black community. But many small businesses rely on local chambers of commerce who don't have enough resources to provide, strategic investment banking services to these small business communities to access, capital markets. According to FINRA, which is a financial industry regulatory authority, capital access brokers, or CABs, are firms that engage in a limited range of activities, including advising companies and private equity funds on capital raising and corporate restructuring, and acting as placement agents for sales of unregistered securities to institutional investors under limited conditions. This information is publicly available on our website at mkgfinancialgroup.com. Just go to Capital Formation, click on the tab for Capital Formation. You can also listen to Fresno Capital Formation radio show on Spotify and also on Audible. Here, I kind of go over, a lot of things that, that we lack as far as financial inclusion and financial diversity. Capital formation through private placements of securities has increased substantially since the onset of the financial crisis. Amounts raised through unregistered security offerings have outpaced the level of capital formation through registered security offerings during the recent years, and totaled more than $2 trillion during 2014. There's also an abstract of unregistered offerings on the website of mkgfinancialgroup.com. Just select the tab Capital Formation. You can just download the white paper, and you can see for yourself that people have researched this, that actually have invested years and have degrees in education in capital markets as well as in capital raising. So these are something that no one here is. Sometimes people, I would say, tend to question or be either objective and not subjective to the information that they're hearing, and go and get the facts and look at the research, for themselves. But the research has already been done. The facts have also been laid out, and according, to our case studies, many small black-owned businesses trying to raise capital are effectively shut out of capital formation due to underrepresentation from broker dealers and capital access brokers versus their white counterpart businesses that are flourishing and thriving during this pandemic due to the support and private placement offerings being effectuated. We further find evidence that many crowdfunding portal intermediaries are not willing to support or provide startups corporate financing guidance, and have systematically excluded startups and black businesses deemed too risky due to lack of cash flow and access to institutional investors. High net worth, individuals, family offices, and significant regulatory challenges pose to small to mid-sized businesses' ability to obtain audited financial statements and costs to raise capital up to $1,070,000. And so, let's discuss, what it takes, for a business to be able to get the okay, the launch. I mean, it's a pretty due diligent process, and you really got to have your financials in order. I'm not just speaking from something that I don't have experience on, and I haven't went through and done ourselves. but the upward costs, to actually get your documents, either your financial statements, audited, either on an audited basis or on an unaudited basis, depending on how you keep your books, and that's where most black owned or African American businesses, maybe they're still doing things by paper. You have to have an accounting software, you have to have an accounting program, you have to have someone that goes in every single month and reconcile your books and making sure your bank statement matches your accounting software, where all of your income that's coming in, your income that's going out, your account payables, your bills, your expenses, those things are going to match up and line up with your bank statements, or I would call lining up with the stars. And so you got to have some tax, accounting, audit, assurance, and some advisory service going on in your business. But most entrepreneurs or small businesses are either a single owner operator, where it goes almost back to Robert Ticha, I think is Kacharian, the Rich Dad Poor Dad guy that wrote the book. He talks about the 4 stages of the 4 types of business owners. You have the E, which is the the employee, and then you have the B, which is the business owner, and then you have the I, which is the investor, and then you have the S category, the quadrants, the 4 quadrants, and then you have the S of the 4 quadrants, which is the self-employed, which means that if you don't get up and go to work that day, then your business doesn't run. It doesn't, it ceases to operate, it ceases to function. And so your business is pretty much dies without you. It's like the mind does not function, or the body does not function without the mind. And that's the way the self-employed business owner is attributed or associated to his company or to his business, that they work hard for, and he's trying to live the American dream. But the investor, that's like your Walmarts, where the CEO of Walmart, whether he gets up and goes in, he doesn't have to go in and check in to Walmart every day. Walmart runs itself. They have a system, they have programs in place that the employees is going to run the business, and Walmart's going to be a profitable company day in and day out. It's like one of the world's biggest employers. And so that's the mindset that you have to start thinking to elevate out of being small, thinking small but thinking big, not settling for a grand, not settling okay, how I'm going to make it today or tomorrow, thinking about how you're going to have enough cash flow, or at least your burn rate, where you have enough money in your bank account where you can operate for maybe 18 months, 12 months before you start worried about being in the red. You want to make sure your bank accounts are going to always be in the black. And that's where crowdfunding comes in. It allows you to expand and grow your business, but it doesn't depend on your credit like a bank loan, and so many black business owners have not mastered the 4 quadrants that Robert talks about. They're still being in the S quadrant, which is a self-employed. We have to move into the B quadrant, which is the business owner quadrant, where that's where now you're talking about raising some capital here. And then you get to the I quadrant, which is that investor quadrant. That's where that's that passive income, where money is working for you and you're not working for the money. And then you start thinking about the compound interest. How what Albert Einstein thought about the rule of 72, looking at the rule of 108. But we got to really look at if you don't have a bookkeeper or an accountant that can get you a consolidated financial report, that's where we come in at your back office partners at MKG Tax Consultants. It's something that that we do here. It's like a neurosurgeon of the financial piece of you being able to think outside of the box and thinking big. And so you're gonna have to have the advisory. And also you're going to have your EDGAR filing service, just like you file your taxes. You got to file these reports, with the regulators, which is the Security and Exchange Commission. But, the EDGAR, is electronic data gathering, a reporting system where, we can help draft and also file your Form C or your Form D, or you can even just test the waters and just do a test filing, where we also can assist you with your unaudited consolidated financial statements, they got to be prepared in accordance with the U.S. General Accepted Accounting Principles and the U.S. GAAP. You also got to do your annual report disclosure requirements. You also you got to have your accounts reconciled. Your financial data, for the prior two fiscal years, including your total of your assets, your cash and cash equivalents, your accounts receivable, your short-term debt, your long-term debt, your revenue of sales, your cost of goods sold, your taxes paid and net income, your forecast reports. Sometimes people want to take the easy way out, but there is no shortcuts here. This stuff is going to cost you some money. And so sometimes, you get what you pay for. Like I said, it's going to be upward of anywhere from $30,000 to $50,000, because you also have to pay your lawyers, which, in your accountant, which is like your quarterbacks, that's going to bless, your documents for you to be able to get, your chances of getting listed depends on your portal. And like I said, we're still dealing with, the wealth gap, which is, the wealth inequality here in America, which goes down to systemic racism, where, you're not guaranteed to be, listed on a crowdfunding portal, even if you did do all those requirements and, got everything, signed off by your lawyer, signed off by your accountant. They might not even list you or even, allow you to raise capital on their platform because of systematic racism, or who their owners might be. It might be all pro-white and not really trying to support, that many black, businesses, unless, you have to also understand not giving up too much equity in your company. So, you got to, do your cap tables, your water analysis. Those things are important, so that you're not, giving away your company or giving away the farm. So that's where that crowdfunding advisory service comes in at, where it's really important. The initial consultation is $360, which is a peace of mind and insurance. But, if you really want to engage, the full scope of the crowdfunding advisory service, you're talking about, at least a minimum of $3,000. This benefit is going to save you time and money by streamlining your financials for the exempt, offering registrations and reducing your overhead CPA audit costs to facilitate, your access to capital investments. What you're taking, 360, or you're taking $3,000, and then, once that, everything is in order, you're going to decrease that CPA cost with back and forth. I mean, for a Reg CF, you're right now, the old limit was $1,070,000. Now you can raise up to $5 million. So that's where, do you want a $5,000 grant, $10,000 grant, $25,000 grant, or would you like to try to raise $5 million? So, that's where, you're thinking of the big term, long-term goals are, not just, thinking small, but thinking big. And if you go on, into a Reg A, the crowdfunding, that increased from 50 million to 75 million. But, of course, you got to have investors investing into your company. And so it's almost like a pitch deck, but what is it that you're pitching? You can spend all this money and you're not guaranteed to be listed on their crowdfunding portal. Well, you know what? We took those what ifs and those doubts out, where we will be the crowdfunding portal to allow you to raise that capital, to allow you to bring in that money from those investors to grow and expand your business. We like to, stay in the Reg D, 506C, because that allows you to advertise on Google, Facebook, the radio, the internet, to an unlimited amount of accredited investors. However, the rules have changed. The SEC made some amendments to that. But we got to go back and look at history, and like I say, think about, for every $100 that a white, counterpart has, we only have $5.04 of wealth, compared to every $100 that's either raised through crowdfunding or earned through working a job or through investments. Our wealth is $5 to every $100. Or for every $1 million that another white counterparts own, then we have only $50,000. I mean, you have to go back and look at, the history. I mean, this is some things you can go and look at. The Economic Policy Institute, they found that more than 1 in 4 black households have zero or negative net worth compared to less than 1 in 10 white families without wealth. So if you think about who's more on welfare, who's more on the system, or who's more on the financial aid, we're already on the road to zero wealth. That's what we're at today in 2021. Black businesses are on a road to zero wealth. Let's let that sink in. Black businesses are on a road to zero wealth. How do we change this narrative? How do we change, where the past meets the present? It's going to have to take financial education and literacy. But you also have to look at how did this happen? Systemic racism, that ruffles a lot of people's feathers. It also often triggers emotional arguments about how people feel about racism and its effect, but there's concrete data over a long period of time that shows very clearly that systemic racism exists. And Fresno capital markets are here to change that. Why? We've already launched our own, private equity portal, which is, able to raise capital. All you have to do is just Google it online. Just go online and just, do your research, do your due diligence. But blacks were historically prevented from building wealth by slavery and Jim Crow laws that enforced segregations in the South until the Civil Rights Act of 1964. The government policies included the Homestead Act, the Chinese Exclusion Act, and even the Social Security Act were often designed to exclude people of color. Well, what do you think is going on right now with crowdfunding? Nothing is different. Nothing is new under the sun. It's just the game has changed to a different, meaning or a different acronym. The same games are being played. From the housing market, we were excluded from buying housing, buying land. You think we're not being excluded from crowdfunding? You think this stuff isn't real? But, once again, we have to have the knowledge to empower ourselves. Like Malcolm X said, education is the passport to the future for those who prepare for it, tomorrow. I mean, I like to go over, what they said about the private market, in an abstract. I mean, it's it was an analysis, that what they had said, that for capital formation, can you imagine $2 trillion was raised in 2014? I think, there's enough, money out there for us to be able to capture this market share of the private, capital markets, so that we're not still systematically excluded from capital raising, or we still got our heads in the sandbox, where it's not like what does an ostrich do, when an ostrich sees danger? An ostrich sticks his head in the ground and, and think they're going to be safe. We can't continue to, put our heads in the ground and think we're going to be safe while everyone else is making trillions of dollars, raising capital, crowdfunded, when we have our own Fresno capital markets here in Fresno. Just go online, mkgenterprisescorp.com. If you're a black business owner and you don't have $1 million or are not generating $1 million a year, and you want to change the narrative, you really got to take this into consideration. Underrepresented, and once again, a $5,000 grant, $10,000 grant is not going to sustain us and is not going to grow our community and get us to where we're going to need to be, which is job creation and wealth building. If you want to build wealth, take some time out, educate yourself, learn about capital formation, learn how to raise capital, but again, remember the racial inequalities, exactly, what some of these, laws that were, instilled to prevent us from building wealth. We're not here to, interfere or at least, stagnate or hold anybody back from building wealth. The people that are going to hold you back from building wealth are the people that are not going to tell you the truth, people that are not going to educate you and tell you, give you the tools and the resources that you need to build wealth. If you're around people that are not giving you the tools and the resources to build wealth and how to raise capital, you really need to think about who your circle of friends are if you're a black business owner and you're not raising capital. The time is now. We're in 2021, the 21st century, and the internet is now generating trillions of dollars for people, and we're not using technology and the tools and the resources that are available for us, as well as the education. Once again, my name is Marshawn Gohan. I am the owner of MKG Enterprises Corp., MKG Financial Group, Private Equity Fund Advisors. If you're interested in raising capital, then you can reach out to us and go onto our website at mkgtaxconsultants.com or mkgfinancialgroup.com and just select capital formation.